For much of BTS's early history, Jungkook was known simply as the Maknae, the youngest member of the group, the wide-eyed prodigy who debuted at just 15 years old. Fans watched him grow up under global scrutiny, evolving from a talented trainee into one of the most influential pop artists of his generation. Now, in Rolling Stone UK issue 26, Jungkook speaks not as a boy shaped by the industry, but as a man reshaped by time, discipline, and experience, particularly his period of mandatory military service. The interview captures a Jungkook at a critical turning point, reflecting on growth, responsibility, and a future he intends to define on his own terms. This is not the story of a comeback alone. It is the story of transformation. Jungkook describes his military service not as a pause, but as a recalibration. Removed from the constant rhythm of releases, performances, and global attention, he was forced to confront time differently. According to Jungkook, his perception of time fundamentally changed after returning from military duty. Where once days blurred together amid packed schedules, he now views time as finite, valuable, and deserving of respect. This shift has influenced not only how he works, but how he lives. He explains that the experience made him more conscious of habits that affect the body and mind, prompting him to reconsider long-standing routines that no longer aligned with his long-term goals as an artist. One of the most discussed revelations from the Rolling Stone UK interview is Jungkook's current strict dietary routine. He confirms that he is practicing 1 meal a day, OMAD, a disciplined eating pattern that limits food intake to a single meal within a day. Rather than framing it as deprivation, Jungkook describes the practice as a way to build appreciation and intentionality. Eating once a day, he says, makes the moment feel earned. He compares the satisfaction after a meal to the feeling of completing a task, structured, deliberate, and mentally rewarding. The routine reflects a broader philosophy of control and focus that now governs his lifestyle. Physical discipline extends beyond diet. Jungkook reveals that he maintains a consistent exercise routine, including badminton, bowling, and jogging. Notably, he prefers to exercise alone. He explains that solitary workouts allow him to focus without distraction, emphasizing that this time is not about competition or performance, but presence. In isolation, he can listen to his body, refine his movements, and reconnect with himself. This approach mirrors his broader post-military mindset: fewer distractions, deeper concentration, clearer purpose. Perhaps the most striking element of Jungkook's reflections is how he now frames health as responsibility. He openly shares that he is actively trying to avoid behaviors that could harm his body, including efforts to reduce or stop alcohol consumption. This decision is not framed as moral judgment, but as practical awareness. Jungkook emphasizes that maintaining his health is no longer just a personal matter, it is a responsibility to his group, his future work, and the people who rely on him. The statement subtly reframes idle wellness, not as image management, but as professional sustainability. With BTS preparing for a major new chapter, Jungkook confirms in the interview that the group's next album is scheduled for release on March 20th, 2026. The announcement carries significant weight. It represents not just a musical return, but the reassembly of a group that has spent years evolving individually. Jungkook expresses clear excitement for upcoming group activities, signaling readiness, not nostalgia. The upcoming album is framed as a continuation, not a revival. For Jungkook, BTS is not something he returns to, it is something he moves forward with. While reaffirming his commitment to BTS, Jungkook also speaks openly about his enthusiasm for solo activities. He makes it clear that group work and solo growth are not in conflict. Instead, they function as parallel paths that inform and strengthen each other. Among his current goals is improving his street dance skills, an area he views as both technically demanding and creatively freeing. The focus on street dance reflects Jungkook's desire to stay connected to raw movement and authenticity, elements often overshadowed in highly polished idol performances. One of the most quoted lines from the Rolling Stone UK interview encapsulates Jungkook's artistic philosophy. "I always chase change. I want to be an artist who creates trends, not follows them, without limits." The statement is delivered not as bravado, but as conviction. For Jungkook, stagnation is the real risk. He sees change not as reinvention for novelty's sake, but as survival. An artist must evolve or fade. This mindset places him not only as a performer, but as a long-term creative force shaping the direction of global pop culture. Earlier in his career, Jungkook was often described as naturally talented. While that label remains true, the interview reveals an artist who no longer relies on talent alone. What defines Jungkook now is intentionality. Every routine, every habit, every goal is filtered through a question: does this serve my future as an artist? It is a question born from experience, discipline, and time away from the spotlight. The Jungkook presented in Rolling Stone UK issue 26 is not louder or more aggressive than before. His strength is quieter, measured, deliberate, and deeply internal. It is the strength of someone who understands limits only to challenge them thoughtfully. As BTS prepares for its next era and Jungkook steps forward with renewed clarity, one thing becomes evident. This is not a return to who he was, but an arrival at who he intends to be. Long before Jungkook articulated his transformation in words, fans sensed a shift. ARMY noticed subtle changes in how he spoke, how he framed his goals, and how he referenced the future. There was less urgency, fewer impulsive moments, and more emphasis on longevity. Rather than chasing immediate results, Jungkook appeared to be planning in seasons, measuring growth not in weeks, but in years. The Rolling Stone UK interview simply confirmed what many had already felt. Jungkook had entered a phase defined by intention rather than reaction. As one of the most recognizable artists in the world, Jungkook carries influence that extends far beyond music charts. His habits, statements, and lifestyle choices are often scrutinized and at times imitated. In this context, his emphasis on discipline and self-care resonates beyond personal narrative. It subtly challenges long-standing idol culture norms that prioritize relentless output over sustainability. By openly discussing diet control, exercise routines, and reducing harmful habits, Jungkook reframes success as something built on preservation, not sacrifice. Jungkook's reflections also touch on a quieter cultural shift, how masculinity is expressed within the K-pop industry. Rather than presenting strength as endurance through exhaustion, Jungkook frames strength as self-regulation. His approach rejects extremes, favoring balance, self-awareness, and restraint. This portrayal offers an alternative model for male idols, one where ambition and vulnerability coexist, and where discipline is rooted in care rather than punishment. While global fans often view military enlistment as an interruption, Jungkook contextualizes it as a shared national experience, one that reshaped his worldview. Military service removed the hierarchy of celebrity, placing him among peers defined by uniformity and structure. This environment fostered humility and reflection, qualities that now surface in his post-service mindset. Rather than distancing him from artistry, the experience appears to have grounded it. The confirmation of BTS's album release on March 20th, 2026 carries symbolic weight. This album is not framed as a nostalgic reunion, but as a recalibrated collective statement. Each member returns changed, carrying individual growth into a shared vision. For Jungkook, the album represents continuity, proof that evolution does not erase identity, but strengthens it. Jungkook's excitement for solo activities exists alongside his commitment to BTS, not in opposition to it. He speaks of solo work as a laboratory, a space to refine skills, experiment with movement, and explore artistic instincts that later enrich group performances. His focus on improving street dance reflects a desire to reconnect with the fundamentals of expression, away from spectacle and expectation. Jungkook's declaration, "I want to create trends, not follow them," reveals a long-term strategic mindset. Rather than aligning with current industry waves, he positions himself as an initiator. This approach requires patience, risk tolerance, and confidence in one's creative compass. It also explains his emphasis on internal growth. Trendsetters must be self-directed. In an industry often obsessed with immediacy, Jungkook's post-military philosophy emphasizes endurance. Success for him is no longer defined by constant visibility, but the ability to remain relevant, healthy, and creatively fulfilled over decades. This reframing challenges traditional idol narratives and aligns more closely with global artist longevity models. When Jungkook says "without limits," he does not imply recklessness. Instead, he speaks of removing artificial ceilings, expectations imposed by age, role, or past identity. His evolution from Maknae to solo artist to disciplined visionary illustrates this gradual dismantling of constraints. Limits, he suggests, are often inherited. Growth requires questioning them. As 2026 approaches, Jungkook stands at a threshold. Behind him lies a decade of global success, relentless schedules, and youthful ambition. Ahead lies a future defined by balance, intentional artistry, and collective resurgence with BTS. The Jungkook revealed in Rolling Stone UK issue 26 is not reinventing himself for attention, he is refining himself for permanence. And in doing so, he signals that the next era, both for himself and BTS, will not be louder, but deeper.